follow-up to the previous video I did, which was my favourite Pilates moves for glute strength. So if you had slightly inactive glutes, or you just felt that you weren't getting your hamstrings to relax, you would do that video. But sometimes the quadriceps in the front of the thigh and the hip flexors can be a little tight, and you can find that you have restricted movement within extension, within hip extension. So these stretches are to help with that, to help stretch out the quadriceps. The hip flexors, we have the TFL muscle at the side of the hip, the deep hip flexors, and some of the inner thighs. So we're going to get started. So to get started, just make sure that you are warmed up before you do any stretching, particularly deep stretches within your hip. So for example, just go for a walk. When you come back from your walk, make sure you're all set up before you go and stretch immediately with this. So we're going to start with a lunge with a band, or with a yoga strap I have today. If you have very long double-ended bands, you can use those. You loop them around one end of something quite sturdy and loop the other end around your thighs. I'll show you. So with the yoga strap, you can also use a belt that looks a little bit like this. So I have the buckle here strapped quite tight. These are quite long yoga straps as well. I think these are 2 meters long. So you're going to step one leg through, and this will be the leg that's at the back, and then the other leg is forward in your lunge. So you're going to get right up to the line underneath your bum, so right up at the very top of your thigh, and then we're going to be lunging down, just holding onto the strap just to make sure that it stays put. And you're aiming to have the strap pull the top of your thigh bone forward inside the hip. You want to have a pelvic tilt, so feel like you're dropping your tailbone closer to the floor, moving your pubic bone forward, or moving the little hip bones here further up. All of those will help to posteriorly tilt your pelvis. And then we're going to do a little lunge down, and that helps deepen the stretch, and back up. So for me, my thighs aren't too tight, although I did try a stretch that I wanted to add. I'm not flexible enough yet. But you may feel your thighs themselves stretch. You might feel the stretch all the way along the quadricep muscles of the front of your thigh. The forward leg, so on this side, my left leg is slightly pressing me back to keep the pull of the band moving forward. You can also do this with a partner. So your partner would stand with both legs inside the other end of the band, or the strap, and they would pull back for you. If you're going to use it on something, I have mine on one of the buckles for my, or one of the brackets for my bar, and I know that it's quite sturdy on the wall, so I'm not afraid to pull on it. And we're going to hold in the stretch now, and a little bit more pull, which is quite nice, and then reaching up. So I'm still trying to pelvic tilt, so I'm still trying to keep that feeling of curling my pelvis under rather than letting my back arch and taking away the stretch. And then I'm going to step out and switch legs. So right up at the crease of my bum. Front leg, right leg this time is pressing me back slightly, keeping the pull of the band, pulling my thigh bone forward. Injury on this side, move it down a little bit. So I'm pretty high. Mine was just over my hamstring tendon, which I had previously torn a little bit, so it's still a little bit sensitive. So that's why I moved it down just a little bit. Lunge. So when you're lunging, make sure that your bottom knee is underneath your hip, as opposed to having it slightly forward, your knee is more underneath the front of you. So make sure your back leg's back far enough, and you get a good lunge. And then I'm going to step out and switch legs. So right up at the crease of my bum. So I'm going to hold in the stretch now. And then lunge down. So when you're lunging, make sure that your bottom knee is underneath your hip, as opposed to having it slightly forward, your knee is more underneath the front of you. So make sure your back leg's back far enough, and you get a good lunge. studio today. It's nice and warm. So I'm going to build up to a hold. So once again, static stretch. So I can feel the band pulling forward. Big stretch on this side. Deep breathing. And then I'm going to ease out. So our next stretch is on a mat. So the next part of the forward side of the body that we're going to stretch is the quadriceps. So the quadriceps are the knee flexors and hip flexors, one of them is a hip flexor on the front of your thigh bone. So there's 4 of them, they cross the knee, so they extend the knee forward when you're straightening out your knee. So from here, if I get my knee out. One of them also crosses the hip, called rectus femoris. Yes, rectus femoris crosses the hip, and it's also a hip flexor. You might also get a tiny little bit of TFL, tensor fascial latae here at the side too, with a little bit of internal rotation, but we're going to do that a different way anyway. So we're going to lay down on the side. I'll be stretching my right leg at first. So you're going to have your left knee pulled up in the front. Try and have it a little higher than your hip. Make sure you're comfortable, and then lie all the way down. So on this, we're going to be holding on to your right ankle, hopefully. I'm going to try and hold on to the shin. If you find it hard to actually reach your foot, you could use a towel, for example. We call these arm extenders, with joke in the class. So you'd be holding onto the towel, which is then wrapped around your foot. Try to use something that doesn't have stretch, like a towel or the yoga strap, so that you can hold them quite firmly. We're going to do contract, relax style stretch today. So, hold onto my foot. So in terms of position, try and be pretty parallel with yourself, or pretty straightforward. So you don't want to have the ankle up higher than your knee, or your knee down lower than your hip. You want to have the knee about hip height with the ankle behind, and it's also a slightly deeper stretch. If you hold on around your shin, the lowest part of your shin, right above your ankle, and that gives you a slightly deeper stretch. Just make sure you have a good grip. So once we're in position, left knee pulled up, we're going to try and do a pelvic tilt. It's going to feel slightly as though you're tucking your tail or pressing the pubic bone forward toward your left knee. You can also stretch the left leg forward to help get a deeper stretch. So I'm going to hold this for from 60 seconds to 90 seconds for the first part of the stretch. Then we're going to do contract, relax stretching. So contract, relax is, you're going to try and press into your hand. You're going to stay in exactly the same position for 20 seconds. And we're going to try and do it at 20% of your muscle's maximal power, which is very hard to quantify. So what we're going to do is just very lightly press your hand or your ankle in, press your foot or your ankle into your arm, into your hand, and we get the contraction. Then we're going to very softly relax it and deepen the stretch. You're going to try and either draw your heel closer to your bum. If you feel you've maximized your knee flexion, then you're going to try and pelvic tilt more, posteriorly tilt the pelvis. And if you feel that you've maximized both of those, then you're going to try and draw your knee further back so we get more hip extension. So we're moving at the hip joint then. So for contract, relax, make sure your grip is firm, and you're just going to press your foot down. You're going to kick your leg out straight. So I'm doing it right now. It looks the same, feels a little different in the hand. You want to feel very lightly that your quadriceps are engaging. And then we're going to hold that for 20 seconds. Check up to my watch at the start now. Make sure you're counting the sort of 1,000, 2,000 style, or look at a watch. When you're about to relax, we've got 3, 2, 1 now, so you're going to inhale. So we stop the kicking, you relax the leg, and on an exhale, either heel into bum, pelvic tilt more, or draw the leg back more. So mine is pretty much in its maximal stretch, so I'm just going to stay where I am. Make sure that your floor knee, the left knee, isn't sliding down. Then we're going to hold this for again, we're going to hold for a little longer, about 90 seconds to 2 minutes. So it's quite a long static stretch. If you feel that you want to do some more contract relaxing, hold for 60 to 90 seconds again, and do a second contract relax, and it will help to deepen the stretch here. So I'm going to go on to the other side. I'm going to go on to the floor version. I stretch my left leg with the floor version, so you'll see that. So you can do either way. This is the way that I slightly prefer, to be honest. So I'm going to draw my left heel in. Again, you can use the towel to wrap that around your foot if you can't hold on to it. So I'm going to draw my heel down, and then I can lie down all the way. So I'm going to have to put my head up just so that you can see what I normally do with my head all the way down. So I'm going to engage in a little bit of a pelvic tilt. So heels into the bum. It's not out to the side or anything, it's directly behind. And then I pelvic tilt. So I do once again holding for 60 to 90 seconds. So that's a minute to a minute and a half. And then the contract relax. So I press into my arm. So this is what it looks like when you can see the foot. There'll be no change. This will actually improve my grip. So to kick back, thigh muscles are contracting. Still trying to do the pelvic tilt. So here it feels like you're going to press your pubic bone right into the mat, or lift the little hip bones here a little bit away. I usually do this with my watch right down in front of me. So the initial hold on this would need to be a little longer. When you're doing this, you really want to tune into what it feels like in your muscles, so make sure that you're not pulling much too hard and overstretching. You want to feel that you're still within a range of, I suppose, bounciness, so that you're not pulling yourself to the max. You're about 90 to 95% there. So after a 20-second hold, I'm going to relax my leg in place, and then I'm going to try to draw my heel in a little further, or pelvic tilt a little further, or lift the knee away from the floor for a deeper stretch if you're already maxing out those two ranges, or feel like you are. And then again, holding for either 90 seconds to 2 minutes, a minute and a half to 2 minutes, or a minute to a minute and a half if you want to do a second contract relax. So if you want to do multiple contract relaxes, don't do any more than 4. After 4, you don't get any more benefits, it's just the same. I'll kick it back, and have a nice little roll. So the next stretch that we're going to do is for the hip flexors, and you can also do the quadriceps in this stretch too. I'm going to come on up. So for this, you can use a towel to cushion your knee. So you'll be kneeling on the floor. So a towel, or if you're using this is a yoga mat, which is more rubbery. The Pilates mats are much more foamy. So they're a little nicer on the knees. So you could use one of those. So I'll show you with my right knee kneeling first. So you can see that my knee is just off the front. Hopefully with everything being back, you can see that. If you need support, you can use a block. That's what I have here, or you can just hold on to something and be on your left side rather than the right side. So our left knee is going to be forward, our left foot is going to be forward on knee, like so. So just a few position checkpoints you want to have. Right ankle behind the right knee. I don't know if this will be picked up, my camera will really exaggerate it, rather than your right foot behind the left knee, that way. So we're going to have it pretty straight. And then we're going to have the 2 little hip bones. You want to make sure your pelvis looks straight ahead. The 2 little hip bones you can feel here are looking straight ahead. A little slope in your left shin so that when you come forward, your knee arrives over your ankle. It's just a little steadier for balance. And we're going to start with the pelvic tilt. So one of the hip flexors goes from the inside ridge of your pelvis through to the inner thigh. There's a little, it's actually more posterior up here. There's a little bony prominence called the lesser trochanter. So your greater trochanter is this bony bit on the outside, there's one little one on the inside too. And that's where it touches to, so that's why we want to have the legs slightly turned in or pretty straight rather than turned out. And then the other one goes to the lower back. So in order to deepen the stretch, or to have a deep stretch, you want to make sure that you're not arching forward or that the pelvis isn't rotated forward, because they're in a shorter position there. So all of this shortens the hip flexors, and this lengthens the hip flexors to begin with. So you have a nice upright position of the pelvis. Feel like you're curling your tailbone under or pubic bone forward. Lower back is pretty straight upright rather than curved forward. And the right side of your bum is engaged. And we have balance. So we're going to move forward a couple of times. So we press slightly forward and then easing back. And hopefully feeling it up near your hip. You might also feel the quadriceps. So you go forward and back as you do 3 or 4. And then the next one we hold. So we want to feel that the pelvis is still facing straight ahead. The foot hasn't tried to slide over, which your body will find easier ways to keep you balanced, but that is one of them. And you're still trying to keep the glutes slightly active, which helps release the hip flexors on the other side. So we're just going to hang out here, then we're going to try contract relax. So to deepen the stretch, we're going to take the right arm, take it one long right side, up toward the ceiling, and allow a little bit of letting go of the ribs. So you want to get a diaphragmatic breath. So you want to encourage the rib cage to really expand as you inhale. So we think of inhaling and opening the ribs, and then exhaling all the way out. So the diaphragm pulls up, and with the little tails that attach into the hip flexors, which I can't remember the name of, but there's the diaphragm muscle like a parachute, and at the back there's little tails that attach into each hip flexor muscle. So the psoas, it attaches into the psoas, which is a muscle which is highly responsive to stress, which can also resonate in your breathing through your diaphragm. So you get more shallow breathing, hip flexors tighten, and the hips get tight and ready to run away or kick something and fight. So you get a nice deep free breath. So think of letting go of everything but your alignment. So ribs moving all the way around. If you're steady, you can use both arms up. Now if you want to do a contract relax, what we're going to try and do, so I'm going to get my arms down just so I can balance, is try and drag your knee forward, sort of to the spot that would be adjacent to your left heel, as if it would be where your heel will go when you're standing. You're going to try and drag the knee all the way forward to there, and you're going to try and use the hips. But we're not going to actually move anywhere, you're just going to activate the muscles. So picture that you're going to drag it forward, you're going to look the same. So when I do it, it looks like that. Doing it right now, contract, isometric contraction. So I'm aiming to get my hip flexors, not the quadriceps. So I'm trying not to push my right foot down, I'm trying to leave it quite rested on the floor. It's tricky to tell that not to do it, it's really a natural response I find in this one. I'm trying not to push down too heavily in my left leg. I'm just trying to activate my hip flexors. They're quite deep, it's tough to isolate them. And this compound stretch in first place. So we're going to hold that for about 20 seconds. I'd say I'm about 10 or 12 in. So here with watch, you can have a look, count the seconds. And when you're relaxing, which I'm going to do in a moment, you're going to try and pelvic tilt more and send the pelvis as a whole forward more and get more hip extension. So we take an inhale, the leg relaxes, tightening right side of your bum, and then maybe a little bit more movement. So I've done this is my third take, so I've already done a few contract relaxes, so I'm not really going to go much further. If you want to stay and do a couple of contract relaxes, try and leave 90 seconds in between each round, and you want to do no more than 4 per side. Any more than 4 per side, and you do 5 or 6, you might as well still be doing 4 because it doesn't develop much further after that. Now for the quadricep stretch, do be careful of your knee. I might add another towel, just to move my knee back more on the towel. Is when you hold on to that back foot. So here I am going to allow my back to arch a little. So this is the first step. You just take your heel a little higher. It does move your kneecap more underneath. I think this is probably a lot more comfortable the more flexible you are, because you're going to be much more on the more forward part of your knee. And you're going to hold on to your foot. And my hamstrings have been cramping a lot today. So let's see if I can do the happy hamstrings. Relax. So that is the stretch. Another way to do this is have your toes against a wall. And you can probably see you've got good alignment, visual So it just goes for alignment that my back is now forward. So I wasn't in the position that I just was. Oh, that's a much deeper stretch for my hips. So bending the knee, stretches the quadriceps, stretches that rectus femoris muscle that crosses over your hip a little bit more, and also increases the deeper effect on the hip flexors. So I'm still trying to squeeze the right side of my bum, I'm still trying to press my hip forward. Now this can really throw off your balance. So you can hold on to something if you find that you're wobbly. And you're trying to take your heel to your bum. Any more than that, I think my leg would just fall off. Just gonna happen. So I ease out. I'm gonna switch sides. Finally didn't karate kick the block across the room on this take. So I go right leg forward. My knee. So we do all of our alignment cues again. So checking that the left ankle is behind the left knee. So I'll move that a little bit further away. Definitely goes a little bit further in. Hip bones are looking directly forward, and then we're encouraging pelvic tilt, or creating pelvic tilt. So left side of the bum engages on this side. Low slope to right shin, so somewhere to go to. And then we're off. We do a couple of press forwards. So I think left side of your bum engaging. Also, I should mention, sometimes you'll feel it on the forward leg. You might feel it underneath. This can be hamstrings getting a little stretch, glutes. I can't remember which muscle it is. It's one of the inner thigh muscles which can often get a little stretch in this position. I can't remember the name of it though. So we're going to hold our stretch forward. So feel that you're maintaining the pelvic tilt, so keeping the left side of your glutes a little bit active. Trying to remain upright through the pelvis. A little bit of abdominal engagement helps, especially if you're adding a little bit of back bend. So for the deep breath, if you want to just do a static stretch, you're going to take your left arm up. And then if you feel steady, your right arm comes up. And then again, think of that diaphragmatic breathing. It's going to encourage the bottom part of your ribcage to really open on the inhale. And on the exhale, feel that you exhale all the way. So you're going to let the diaphragm fully drop as you're inhaling. So the diaphragm moves down as you inhale. And as you exhale, it's drawn up. Which is why you can see the movement in the abdomen. So when you inhale, diaphragm moves down, so does everything in your belly. And on the exhale, diaphragm moves up, and the vacuum draws everything upward, and your waist tends to narrow then. So the left side of the glutes engaging. My arms down for contract, relax. You can stay and do that big, the long stretch, more fascial stretch with static stretching, or you can add a couple of rounds of contract, relax, and go back. So again, for contract, relax, make sure your form is still the same. Ankle behind the knee, pelvis looking forward, pelvic tilt, and left side of the glutes engaged. Now they'll probably switch off. They will switch off when you do this part. So try and draw the right knee of its own forward, but not really moving. You just get the activation. And try not to press your foot into the floor, sometimes I'll lift it while I'm trying to keep my contraction and feel it and isolate in on that. And try not to overuse the right leg, so it can really pull on this. So I'm in for 20 seconds, I'm going to creepy. I'm going to creaky, a little bit of floor there. So it's 20% of your muscle's maximal power, so keep it really low. You want to just pull forward. You want to really try and drag your knee forward with trying to get, you don't want to feel that you're about to skid your knee forward. So you're just getting a little bit of activation. And then when you're ready to let go, so you take an inhale and let the hip flexors relax. Squeeze up the left side of your bum. And on the exhale, very slowly, try and deepen your pelvic tilt, which will happen when you squeeze your bum usually, and maybe a little bit of movement forward. That side, I think I felt a bit more release. I think I've only done one take on this side. Not too bad. There we go. And you can add the arms straight palms face in. You're trying to reach your elbows almost past your ear for overhead range. Drawing the hands in, deep breath through the ribs. Squeezing the bum on the left side. Maybe a little press forward. And then for the additional quadricep stretch, I will need to block on this side, a little unsteadier. You can see we can hold on to the left foot. Just repositioning my knee so it's more comfortable. The side's tighter. So make sure you're still looking forward. Heel is behind. Sometimes I'll hold on with my right arm. So remember, you can put your foot, you can do this with a big cushion under your knee. You can put your foot on your couch. So you do it right in front of your couch, foot's resting on top, and then all you have to do is your cocktail in front, put your hands on, cocktail at the side, and get a nice stretch. So for static stretch, 90 seconds to 2 minutes, minute and a half to 2 minutes, 240 seconds. Try and calculate it all along instead. Slowly kicking out and easing back. So we're going to do a few additional stretches for the iliotibial or tensor fasciae latae muscle, TFL. You can do it standing. I like to do it laying down. So standing, you have your feet next. You can do it at a doorway or at a pole, a really sturdy pole, or your banisters at home. So you have your feet in there near the wall, and you're going to reach and hold on to the banisters or the door frame, and you're going to push your hip away. But I like to do it on the floor. I feel you can get a better contract relax there. So, okay. So I'm going to do the right side first. So to find your TFL, we're just going to find it on the left, because the left side's up. So if you put your fingertips, so you find the little hip bone that sticks out, and then go just behind that, so on the left will be a little bit left, and turn your leg inward, and you'll feel a little muscle contract. You'll feel it firm with contraction. So it's just there, but on the floor side we're going to do. So you can still turn the leg in, feel it. So you're going to put that on the floor, and you're going to stack your legs, and you're going to use your arms to lift you up. So I've actually picked my tight side. So I'm not sure if it's going to be very visible in black, unfortunately. You don't want to have your hips one on top of the other. You want to, when you're doing your right side, when the right side's on the floor, you want to have your left hip slightly forward, and you're lifting up this way. So feel that you're dropping your shoulders down, you're pulling up a little bit in the abdomen, and we're aiming to stretch. So for contract relax, you can press your right leg into the floor. Try and push it a little bit sideways into the floor. The TFL abducts the leg, so it does this in the leg. But when you're in parallel, so press it head that way into the floor. And then let it relax. And then try and keep up a little bit higher. Might be a little clearer on the other side. Show you the other side for the stretch. TFL on the floor. This is slightly more flex on the side, so might be a little clearer in two different ways. So rather than hips one on top of the other, roll the top hip, so inside the right hip going forward, so it looks like you're kind of about to roll face down. And then we lift up. And sometimes I kind of roll around kind of left and right just to find that stretch just on the front of that little area of my hip. There we go. So I have a snapping hip. The snapping hip is on my right side, so my right TFL is much tighter, so that's probably what's causing it. And the hip flexors are tighter. So for contract relax, press your leg into the floor. So it's 20 seconds hold. contract the muscle. So I usually focus on pressing my knee more than my foot, sorry. So press the leg into the floor. And then let it relax. And then, sorry for re-stretching, you try and come up a little bit higher. So if you're hanging on to something, your feet would be in against the wall, and your left arm on the side would be holding on to the door frame, pole, or the banister of your stair. Just make sure you're not going to pull anything off. And ease out. So that was our little stretching routine that helps improve hip extension. So hopefully with a few repetitions of this and doing the glute strengthening routine, you'll find that your hips come up a little bit higher and you gain more contraction deep within your glutes. So please give this video a thumbs up. It tells the Google machine or the YouTube machine that it's got good content and it boosts its rating all the way up. And please subscribe to see my next video. Thanks very much. Bye bye.